Down here in the bottom left, we have Mr. TSL.HyuN, our Fight Club Bonjour, the only person to ever win more than 3 weeks in a row, now all the way up to 6 victories in a row. TSL.HyuN Reds are down in the bottom left, and up here in the top right, we have Maru.Prime, the light blue Terran, at the top right of Whirlwind. So Whirlwind actually making an appearance before Game 9.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Maru's actually done some practice on here or has some strategies in mind. Actually, no, HyuN was the one who picked it, isn't he?
Yes,
so
he is.
maybe
And
HyuN has some interesting things in mind.
he is more familiar with our map pool. Now, of course, HyuN's strategy in ZBT does revolve around lots and lots and lots of strong Tier 2 mid-game aggression. He loves getting up to 3 bases and then pumping out endless amounts of banelings and just kind of overrunning you. He can certainly play that late-game high-tier tech, but we've seen a lot of his ZBT over the past few weeks. And we know that he just likes steamrolling with a few Mutalisks and a bunch of Lings and Banelings.
All right, yeah, I mean, he, like you said, he is more familiar with our map pool, and he has not built a Rax yet. He is actually moving to a secret location.
That's right. And this is just outside. He checked the Zelnaga Tower to see exactly when the range was, and then built it just outside of it. Maru, that is very clever. Clearly, he's not seen this map all that much then, because otherwise he would have just known.
It's also going to walk right through. Like, this drone scout is going to walk right through that path. Even if he stops at the Zelnaga Tower, he's going to go that direction, so he might still discover it. He didn't. Oh, well, he's actually bouncing to the top left, so he's not going to figure it out in time for the Marines to start showing up at his door. So Maru gonna be a little aggressive this time around, which I am not afraid to admit. I really like aggressive plays. It's always fun to see how players react in these early game attacks.
Well, it's also pretty nice as well, because even if, I mean, I'm sure Maru has experience against HyuN, don't get me wrong, but even if he doesn't have a ton of it, HyuN's been playing really well lately. Obviously in Code A, but he's been dominating IPL Fight Club. He's been taking games against the very best players. He's shown up in Team League in a big way. He was actually a star for TSL during GSTL, winning 3 games a night pretty regularly. So this is a guy who has to be feared, and so we'll see what Maru has prepared for him. And it looks like this double 11-11 racked with a ton of SEVs pulled.
Oh, man. So this is not, I mean, it kind of is all in. I don't like to say it's all in because I have seen these games go farther, but HyuN just walked past a lot of SEVs. His pool is not done yet, so he might not even have any spine crawlers prepared by the time this shows up. He needs to figure out what he's going to do with these next 300 minerals, as they're going to be very, very important. Will he cancel the hatch? No, he's not canceling the hatch. This is going to be very, very difficult. Oh my goodness, the bunker's already there. The drones are being pulled to try and stop the bunker. Obviously, that was too slow, so spine crawlers are going to go up back at the main. Maybe he's just leaving this hatchery as, like, buying him time.
Yes.
Like, please just focus on this hatchery. Don't walk into the main just yet. There's nothing in here that's valuable to kill.
Well, he saw how many SEVs were pulled, so he knows that this is very, very strong.
And they're going back.
And if he holds this in any way, shape, or form, then he is going to be pretty well off. And yeah, Maru actually running back with his SEVs at the moment as he just continues pushing forward with his bunker.
So it's not actually going to end up being the all-inist of all-ins, but it is. I mean, obviously he lost a ton of mining time to be able to do this, and he is actually going to score that hatchery kill. I think there's no real contention there, but a lot of Lings are coming out for HyuN now. He's going to kill that depot because he thinks it's Maru. I'm just kidding. He wants to supply block his opponent. No, he's supply blocking Whirlwind right now.
That's right.
And Whirlwind is not too happy about that, but the spine crawler is going to get in the perfect range actually to avoid that bunker fire and still be able to fight back. I believe, will he? Yeah, he's in the perfect +1 range from that bunker. The hatchery is sitting at 15 health. No, now it's dead. Okay,
and he's letting the Broodlings actually absorb a little bit of the shots there, so nice job. And he runs right on by so we can cut off reinforcements and all these troops on the way back. HyuN, that's so smart.
Okay, so that is a lot of Lings. I really thought he was going to try and break this contain, but really the contain's kind of broken already. Will the Lings? No, there's no way they get there before the wall-off finishes, but they will have you know, some open time on these barracks, force some repairs perhaps out of Maru, get some damage in, but Maru's not going to be able to do anything from here with just 6 Marines when 14 Lings are coming out for HyuN with speed and the spine crawler in a pretty good position as well. Banelings, oh my goodness, when did he get that Baneling messed up?
Okay, all right, so HyuN is actually just going to counter with a lot of aggression here. This has actually been a very cool game, and Maru kind of has to thank his lucky stars right now as well, because he decided to drop his barracks back at the time when a lot of Terran players don't, or they just don't do it when they should. So he is pretty well prepared to just break through all of this. Are there Banelings up at the front? No, it looks like he stopped those, and he's just building them back at home.
All back at home. He is actually going to clear out this presence finally, though, and kill off, at least some of the Marines. He's actually building another bunker at the top. I didn't even notice that. But it's not done yet, so the Marines are all going to go down. He's going to cancel that bunker, and all these Lings are still here. He could go make some Banelings and actually do a lot of damage still.
He could very well. There is the second base just finishing up for Maru, though. Another hatchery finally being slapped down for HyuN as he continues to drone up. So looks like he is fine. He actually doesn't have that much gas either. Unless he starts mining again, he's only going to be able to make 4 Banelings, which won't be enough to be able to push through the barracks.
Yeah, especially with 4 Marines sitting right there. They could actually focus down a couple of the Banelings as they rolled up the ramp. So HyuN not going to try and do anything too silly just yet. He is actually just going to stay parked in that natural area to prevent any expansion from happening. There's 2 factories coming up from Maru now, so that's kind of an interesting build switch there, as his all-in did not really end up being all-in.
No. So a weird start there. Maru pulling a lot of SCVs and then deciding to run them back home, but he has a pretty good defense setup. Floating those barracks back a lot. Like I said, a lot of Terran players will sit there and they'll just try and produce a lot of units at the very beginning out of those barracks and rally them back home, but that leaves their defenses open. So HyuN did a very smart thing, using the Broodlings to actually tank some damage to the bunkers and trying to run them past and exploit that, but Maru was a little bit too quick.
Yeah, and now that the third command center has started, Maru still hasn't been able to take his own natural, so he's investing a lot in these additional bases, but he's not actually able to take any yet because he just doesn't have very many units. He's adding on 2 reactors now onto the factories. It looks like Hellions are going to be his build of choice now, but what's he going to do as far as a starport? I'm not sure. If he can't take a second and third base and start getting the gas income, he's going to be way behind HyuN, who's now moving on to a third base.
All right, so taking a look at things. Okay, double evolution chamber. So HyuN starting slowly but surely to move down the path that we've seen him do over the past few weeks in Fight Club. He's going to be on 3 bases. He'll have layer tech in a bit. He'll start moving up to a few Mutalisks, and he'll power ahead with a lot of upgrades for his melee units. Yeah, the Evo Chamber is definitely going to make a big difference. Of course, that actually allows the ability for Spore Crawlers to be made as well if he fears any kind of starport follow-up from that all-in earlier, but nothing's happened really since HyuN wasn't able to actually get up that ramp. 9 drones actually starting for HyuN now. We got the first wave of Hellions out now, and Maru is actually starting to shift around a bit, so HyuN is going to have eyes on this orbital command dropping at the natural. This is so cool from Maru as well, deciding to just go for reactored Hellions off of double factories really, really quickly so he can duck in there and disrupt everything that HyuN wants to do, because HyuN is going to sit back and try and defend off of nothing but, now finally putting down a Roach Warren so he can help defend just a little bit more, but off of a pretty minimal defense for a while so he can really push ahead in terms of economy, because he knows his opponent was going to put down a second and possibly a third base so much quicker.
That's true. Maru is actually still hanging in there, and his supply is only 2 down of HyuN, so going with reactors probably the correct decision here. Even though he's not using them now, he is rolling upgrades for bio instead. He could flip those barracks around and just start cranking out Marines. HyuN, on the other hand, getting his lair up soon, so we'll be able to see which tech he goes with for that. Is he just building barracks directly onto those reactors? Yes. Is that what that was? Okay, so he is actually going to follow that path. Obviously, he's got a tech lab rolling upgrades like STEM. I don't know if combat shields actually got finished already, but basically he's doing that big switch off of Hellions now. Yeah, no further upgrades yet besides STEM getting started.
Okay, so we stabilized a little bit. It looks like we're going to move towards a bit of the later game. Macro Hatch being put in place for HyuN, and he goes right up to an infestation pit. Not actually going to bother with Mutalisks at all, just sticking to an infestation pit for now.
All right, Baneling speed also getting researched, Roach speed getting researched, Overseer being made so that he can try to get some quick scouting. It's probably the one just below Maru's natural. Yeah, he is starting to move now with his Overlord over here and do some scouting around. All right, so he's going to get a good look, actually, because there's no turrets, only a handful of Marines. He's going to be able to get into the main. Stim will finish just as he starts to fly over everything, so he is actually going to see a lot of barracks production, actually, not a whole lot else. Yeah, missed everything off to the side here. The 2 factories, the starport, the double engineering base. I mean, you can assume a lot of that is up, of course, but still, it'd be nice to know that it's in place. Ooh, a few Lings, actually a lot of Lings going down there, but the Roaches are going to come in from both sides, try to score a couple of Hellion kills. They are going to manage to get away. The creep highway sort of in shambles right there as the tumors were killed off, but HyuN's third base still rocking and rolling at the moment. Maru actually pulled ahead in supply. That's actually crazy to me, sitting on 1 base for so long. Yeah, so now he is starting to macro pretty effectively, as we mentioned. 4 barracks, a lot of reactors in place, and a super heavy tank count as well. Another
another Overseer sacrificing itself to make its way through. It's a pretty big resource expenditure for HyuN, but now he has a perfect idea of what his opponent is up to.
Much better idea. If he saw the engineering base, he might have even had a better, and the armory, all the upgrade buildings actually still being undiscovered, but he can obviously just get a glance at what upgrades they have.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, he sees mostly BIOS, so he can assume that those are on the way, of course.
That's true, and more medevacs are starting to be rolled out now. We've got 4 infestors on the way for HyuN. We did see some great infestor play from Symbol earlier on, and obviously HyuN is no stranger to fungal growth and infested swarm eggs and all that stuff, as we've seen him use them many, many times over the last few weeks in Fight Club. Some players actually in the thread today were predicting that HyuN would just all kill Prime because he's 2 for 2 in the last BO9s that he played.
Yeah,
with the all kills.
All right, well, Maru finally has to duck away with these Hellions. But yeah, I mean, HyuN's just been on such a roll. I mean, and like we said, it's not just in this, but also showing up in team leagues and offline team leagues, GSTL, stuff like that. So he's on top of his game at the moment. He's shooting. He was tweeting at IGNProLeague saying that, I want to be the 7th-time champion. So he certainly has his sights set on continued IPL success.
Yeah, he's got to be thrilled with his performance so far in Fight Club, and he followed me and tweeted at me, so I thought that was pretty cool. And,
yeah.
Another HyuN thing that you guys might not realize, he was a Brood War player, obviously, but there is a video on YouTube labeled something like Best Brood War Ceremonies Ever or something like that, and HyuN has one where he just pretends to be drunk as hell. So he's like stumbles into the place and he's like, "You guys are still here?" Like pointing out all the other players. He's like, "Didn't I beat you already?" or something like that. And he's got like a paper bag and he's just like looking at the board who he's gonna pick for his groups, and he's just kind of like falling all over the place. It's really funny. But that's the only HyuN interaction that I've actually seen online.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. I will now have to immediately go watch that video.
Yeah, dude.
4th base up for HyuN now. He did just finish Hive and is going towards an Ultralisk Cavern. So Ling Infestor Ultra, very strong strategy. Has to be positioned very well, though. And Maru, if he can win that position, the game will still be in a very, very strong spot, as he does have a lot of siege tanks already on the field.
We got some movement from Maru, probably. Oh, wow, actually just some bio. I thought it might have been some Hellions trying to circle around, but actually a little stimmable group of Marines and Marauders getting fungaled and killed very, very quickly. Medevac not even going to try to rescue that, or he just risks losing his own life. Is he going to, I was going to ask, is he going to use some energy, but apparently he is definitely going to do that to kill off this Medevac.
Okay, needs to get one more fungal growth, and does, and the Medevac will die. So an Infestor killed and a couple of fungal growths used in return for a Medevac full of Marines and a Marauder. Both players are about max, though, but we can see that HyuN is banking resources so quickly. He doesn't have any Ultras quite yet, so he's got a pretty expendable force at the moment. Oh, but there's the HyuN we know and love. 31 Banelings all morphing in at the same time.
Yeah, he does not want to lose those Banelings prematurely, so he's actually just going to start a little bit of a fight here, let Maru get in closer, and now the Speedbanes are rolling in. Fungal's actually dropped all over that front line, so the Banelings actually don't even have that many Marines to be targeting. Tanks actually spread very well for Maru, but HyuN just has way too much. The Roaches are standing up to the tank fire quite well. All the Banelings actually do end up getting used, but this is kind of an interesting spot now because there's a lot of Infestors underground, obviously, that don't stand up well to those stemmed units and tanks, and Maru actually going to come out still alive after that engagement.
That wasn't the world's most cost-efficient trade for HyuN. Those Banelings were targeted out from the side very efficiently by the siege tanks. There was actually a siege tank sitting there with 14 kills, and it got them all in the same shot. So it was doing really well. HyuN, it does look like he's ahead by a lot of supply right now, but that's because he just made a million Zerglings, and he has a few Ultralists in production. So Maru certainly not out of this yet, although this force may be overextending a touch.
Yeah, so that force is pretty much gone. I'm not sure if an Infestor will actually be able to get over there in time. Doesn't look like it, actually. Those slow Infestors off of creep. So Maru does escape just barely with quite a lot of units, but HyuN actually could probably just go attack right now, as a large amount of units were just killed off, obviously, and it takes a while for those tanks to be replenished.
Okay, so taking a look now, Maru obviously incorporating a lot of Marauders into his unit composition, but Greater Spire's almost finished up as well, so the next round of units from HyuN, of course, is going to be primarily air bases. He will have some Corruptors and Broodlords out there for his opponent to deal with.
And HyuN's melee attacks are maxed now, actually, sitting at 3-3. Tanks, I'm not sure what their upgrades are, but the Marines and Marauders were sitting at 3-2. So these Lings actually have adrenal glands already. They're going to start to work on that Planetary Fortress. Banelings rolling in, getting a few good splashes. The Infestors actually don't have a lot of support here. They're kind of off by themselves here. The Ultra is going to, of course, fall to all those bio units that are still standing, so the Infestors need to get out of there. What happened to all the ground support for HyuN?
HyuN ran about 40 of the Zerglings up to this Planetary Fortress. 19 of them died right away, so he split back the rest, but his force had already engaged by then, so everything had kind of come in very piecemeal off to the side and wasn't able to get a lot of damage done. He does pick off some bio units in the middle of the map with a couple of fungal growths, but still has to get back and play very defensively. 8 Corruptors popping now. Those will be turned into Broodlords here momentarily.
Of course they will. Tons and tons of Lings coming right back out. 10 more Banelings being morphed. He's not going to go overboard with the Banes anymore, as he does need to save up some money for Broodlords. Obviously, he does have quite a lot banked, and now that the Corruptors are out, once he gets those overhead of the Lings and Infestors, I'm sure he'll start to morph those and begin that slow Zerg siege push I like to talk about, where the Infestors basically just drop fungals all over the front line and then the rest kind of move in, or they can sit back under the Broodlords and just try to play, protect the Broodlord from that point.
Protect the Broodlord indeed. So 7 Broodlords morphing right over the middle of the map, and not even a lot of creep there to support them. Will eventually be 8 Broodlords here, but Maru is going to make his way down to the 5th base in the bottom right-hand corner at the same time.
Yeah, 8 Broodlords is a lot, though, and they're not that far off from that base down there, so actually they kind of are. Never mind. So the Lings actually are going to have to buy some time. I'm not even sure what those were. Spine Crawlers, perhaps. Didn't see any Broodlings actually come out of there, so nothing too important lost yet. Broodlords are slowly making their way over toward that little fissure in the middle of the map that Marines and Marauders actually won't be able to target up there without vision.
Okay, so how many Vikings are on the field? None. Not a single Viking. And already the Marines are starting to go down. This is going to be very difficult for Maru to overcome. Now, if he can delay the ground army for long enough that he can start putting up some anti-air forces, he's going to be all right. But, man, he does not have a lot to lock down this force.
I'm very surprised Maru hasn't retreated already after seeing those Broodlords flapping in the breeze.
There we go.
Yeah, he needs to get out of there. Obviously, Fungals are going to be able to snag a few units at a time. Broodlords will just, smash them down. 27 Banelings in production right now, so HyuN is going to try and get as many units as he can here in this choke, though. Those tanks are still sieged up. He drops a fungal on them, and the Broodlords basically have easy pickings here. More Banelings actually being morphed, unused still. Overlord goes down, but not a really huge deal, as HyuN is now on the move with a very, very scary Zerg force. He's going to just pursue this all the way. Corruptor's actually trying to take out Medivacs on the way as well.
Brings back a few Marines there, but overextends them just a bit. Oh, thankfully, he didn't lose anything there. Oh, if he could have baited out those Banelings with the Marauders, that would have been a huge win for Maru in terms of just being able to delay everything until he gets Air Force out necessary. He is making 5 Vikings at a time, but they are pretty slow to come out.
That's right, making 5 Vikings at a time, trying to deal with those Broodlords, but there's still a pretty hefty Corruptor count. We did see actually some games like this against Alive, 1 or 2 of them that didn't end before this point in the game, but there were just a ton of Corruptors. They deal with Vikings pretty handily, and obviously all the Banelings and Ultras on the ground, Infestors as well, being able to pin Vikings in place, that's going to be pretty easy for HyuN to sort of dismantle. Right now, Maru is going for a drop at this base in the top side, but I don't know if it's actually going to manage to do much damage. He actually drops a little bit before that, so he's going to go by foot instead.
Yeah, I think I like that decision better. There are already some forces that are getting ready, and there are 3 Spore Crawlers that are sitting around as well. So Maru going to roll his way through the front now, and as we can see, 4 Banelings in the mix, but they all waste themselves on the Marauders, so not too much damage going to be done there at all.
The big red blob is on its way up, though. I can see the Broodlords flapping along, and all those Banelings just waiting for something to happen. They don't want to roll in. Obviously, he's going to try and use the Broodlings to draw the tank fire before sending in the Banelings. Let's see. Oh, here comes the mass wave of Banelings. They're going to crash into absolutely everything. Those Vikings are fungled like we talked about to keep them in place for the Corruptors to kill down, and the Banelings actually get all the way toward the back of the base there. There's almost nothing left on the ground to deal with these Broodlords, and only a couple of Vikings getting killed off by those Corruptors. HyuN is just smashing his way into this base.
Oh, yeah. Even though he lost that base off the left-hand side, nice job burrowing those drones. That would have been devastating had those been above. HyuN is just up by 70 supply. He's got a ton of resources. resources banked. He's making a huge round of speed links, because right now he just needs anything to keep on the pressure and make sure that Maru can't sit back and allow his production to start rolling again.
Yeah, the Broodlord Corruptor combo alone is very scary, and he's still got all those Infestors left standing. Corruptors need to go respond to that. There he goes, and he is actually going to be able to pick some of those off as well. Broodlords need to perhaps micro back a little bit. Ooh, a lot of Marines show up, but right at the same time, a ton of links from HyuN come in, and Maru does not want to even try to fight that off, and GG's.
And HyuN, he's pretty good. He's already won one game. He's looking for more here, but so far